After years of rumors, speculation, and months of silence, Jolene finally decided to speak. When she did, it wasn't with anger or dramatic accusations. There were no emotional outbursts or shocking revelations. Instead, her words were calm, measured, and carried the weight of someone who had spent years quietly holding a story few people truly understood. For years, millions of viewers watched the world of bad Chad customs unfold on their screens. They saw sparks flying across the workshop, engines roaring back to life, impossible builds taking shape, and Chad Hiltz transforming forgotten scrap metal into incredible custom machines. To the audience, it was exciting entertainment, a world fueled by creativity, chaos, and larger-than-life personalities. But behind the cameras, another story was unfolding. It was a story of constant pressure, emotional exhaustion, and responsibilities that never made it into the final edit. While viewers celebrated every successful build, Jolene was carrying burdens that almost no one could see. She wasn't simply standing in the background. She was helping hold everything together while the spotlight remained fixed somewhere else. As time passed, fans noticed something had changed. Jolene was no longer appearing in the videos. Questions flooded the comment sections. Some believed she had quietly walked away. Others assumed she had been pushed aside. A few even claimed she had never been an important part of the business in the first place. According to Jolene, however, those assumptions couldn't have been further from the truth. She didn't leave to chase another opportunity. She wasn't seeking attention, and she certainly didn't disappear because she lacked the strength to continue. Instead, she described her silence as something very different. Sometimes, she suggested, silence isn't surrender. Sometimes it's the only way to protect yourself when life becomes too overwhelming to explain. For years, viewers kept asking the same question: where did Jolene go? Rumors spread across YouTube, Facebook, and online forums. Every new theory seemed to replace the last, yet very few people actually knew what had happened behind the scenes. Now, with Jolene finally sharing her perspective, many fans are looking at the story in a completely different way. While audiences watched custom builds and reality television drama, she says she was living through challenges that cameras never captured. Reality television has a way of turning chaos into entertainment. Living inside that chaos, however, is an entirely different experience. Jolene described waking up every morning already exhausted, carrying the weight of a growing business, a demanding relationship, and a public image she never expected to manage. Every setback felt personal. Every problem eventually became hers to solve. And despite giving everything she had, she says it often felt as though stability remained just out of reach. She explained that while Chad's creativity flourished in an environment driven by risk, constant change, and relentless momentum, she found herself searching for structure, communication, and stability. Over time, those differences became increasingly difficult to reconcile. Eventually, she reached a realization that changed everything. She understood that continuing down the same path meant losing parts of herself she could no longer afford to sacrifice. Stepping away wasn't an act of revenge or resentment. It was, in her eyes, an act of survival. There was no dramatic farewell, no emotional announcement, no public confrontation. She simply walked away. But the moment Jolene disappeared from Bad Chad Customs, the silence didn't last long. The internet quickly filled the void with its own explanations. Across YouTube, Facebook groups, online forums, and comment sections, speculation spread faster than facts. Some people blamed Jolene for leaving, while others questioned how important her role had really been, as though the success of Bad Chad Customs had happened without her years of work behind the scenes. With every passing month, new theories replaced old ones, and although countless people claimed to know the truth, very little had ever been publicly confirmed. Under old videos, the same question appeared again and again: what really happened to Jolene? Some believed she had simply chosen a different path, while others were convinced something much bigger, had happened behind closed doors. Despite endless discussions, almost nobody truly knew the full story. Now, after years of remaining silent, Jolene is finally sharing her perspective. Rather than fueling more controversy, her words encourage people to look beyond internet rumors and remember that every story has another side. While millions of viewers watched incredible custom builds, dramatic television moments, and the creative chaos that made Bad Chad Customs famous, there was another reality unfolding away from the cameras. The audience saw edited episodes, but Jolene lived through everything that happened between them. Reality television has a way of turning pressure into entertainment, but living under that pressure every single day is something entirely different. According to Jolene, every challenge eventually became hers to help solve. Every setback carried emotional weight, and behind the excitement of growing a successful brand were endless responsibilities: helping manage a business, supporting relationships, keeping projects moving, and handling the expectations that came with living in the public eye. Over time, those responsibilities became increasingly difficult to carry. She explains that while Chad's creativity often thrived in an environment driven by bold ideas, risk, and constant momentum, she found herself searching for stability, communication, and consistency. They approached life in different ways, and as those differences gradually became more noticeable, maintaining the balance that had once defined their partnership became increasingly difficult. According to Jolene, there was never one explosive argument or a single dramatic event that changed everything. Instead, the transformation happened quietly, little by little, until she realized the life they had built together was no longer sustainable. Eventually, she made the difficult decision to step away. There was no public confrontation, no emotional farewell, and no lengthy explanation. From the outside, it looked like silence, but from her perspective, it was a deeply personal decision made after years of carrying responsibilities that most people never saw.